You there? This is a big experiment today, as always. Everything changes so often I can't keep up with it. In fact, I don't think anybody can. So the title of this launch, or this live stream, is Water is Your Best Friend When You're Painting in Plein Air. I'm Vicki Ross, and I help people learn and grow as artists, and it fills their empty time with peace. I want to talk to you today about ways that you can add some playtime into your painting. It doesn't all have to be serious. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you absolutely had no control and didn't know how to handle it? I have, many times. Fight or flight kicks in. For me, it kicked in. And I realized that Randy and I had spent $10,000 for this art workshop, and I was determined I was going to get every penny out of it. But I had a panic attack. I wanted to run away and cry. I didn't know whether to throw up or faint. Anyway, this describes me in Assisi, Italy, one spring day after a harrowing bus ride from our hotel. It was about an hour. And the roads in Italy stick out over the ocean of the Mediterranean. So the road's sticking out, and it's got all these struts and things going back into the cliff. The cliff is here. And there are hairpin turns, almost 180. Tour buses pass each other on this narrow road. So they jockey back and forth. You want to go forward an inch, then the other one will go forward an inch in the other direction. Sometimes we were an inch apart. It was really disconcerting. But anyway, we survived that stress and got to the unloading spot. Of course, I didn't plan on walking an hour, but got out, unloaded all of our gear from underneath the bus, and packed it all on my back. Now, I had a pack full of stuff. I had a hat, a tripod, a three-legged stool that had a little bitty triangular piece that you sat on, and oh, I'm sorry guys, this thing was scheduled and it didn't cooperate with me. Let me do something here. Stop right in midstream and do something. Can anybody see me? Colin Mike Bird. Yeah, there's some watching. Susan and Sharon, go to the Facebook group, the art page, Vicki Ross Art, and you can see it. And if not, you can catch it on the replay. Anyway, I had this pack. It's full of more stuff than I would ever need. I also had an umbrella. So you can imagine it was about 40 pounds. I was afraid I was going to fall over like a Franz Kafka roach and end up on my back on that pack. Plus we were walking on cobblestones, and it was a good way to the town center and uphill. Yeah, good planning, Vic. But anyway, Randy kept a hand on my backpack and made sure that I didn't fall over. And he couldn't help any more than that because he had the exact same stuff on his back. So anyway, we got to the town center and we set up on the steps of the church. There was like a landing area where, I guess from going up 100 steps, you could rest before you went up another. But anyway, we took control of that landing area and set up. I acted like I knew what I was doing with everything. But anyway, got all set up and tried to act like I knew what I was doing. Now, 360-degree view of antique buildings, bright shop signs, people, statues, the water's just right over there. I had no clue how to find a painting and all that. It was just too much. The day before, Charles had given us some little tips, kind of a warm-up thing. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. That was part of my fun part. I'm going to ask you also to go over, it's all over the place, and I'll have links here too. The roadmap, the Axully art roadmap, is an outline of what I did for 15 years to get where I am today. So you might enjoy looking at that. And that will also get you in the loop for more informative emails. There are several main issues I hear over and over from people who really, really do want to learn how to paint. They're just afraid, A, they don't have any talent, or B, I'm afraid I won't be good enough. Well, of course you're not good enough. That's my job, okay? I wasn't good enough either, obviously. So those two things can take all the fun out of the process. And it's all about the process of painting. It's not about the finished product. It's about the process. And if you can get past those, I don't know what I'm doing, and this little voice over here on your left shoulder, mine's called Victoria. If you can get past that so that you actually enjoy seeing what happens when the pigment hits that water. And the water is, in this case, the key to watercolor. Well, duh. That makes sense, right? We always expect so much of ourselves. I did. I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to be praised. I wanted to be patted on my little head. And yeah, Susan and Sharon, I did try to fix my hair. That's about all I can do with it. So I look like alfalfa. Anyway, the first mistake that I made was paying $5,000 for a 2-week workshop that had huge physical requirements. It involved lugging that gear everywhere we went because the bus obviously can't drop you off just anywhere. And Randy's was also $5,000. We had a brand new instructor that we didn't know. I didn't know much at all about watercolor, even though I pretended that I did. And I had the discomfort, excuse me, of being in a foreign country. I've not traveled and lived all over the place like Randy has. He just takes it in stride and enjoys every minute of it, and I'm kind of like a scared little kitten. I don't know what's safe and what's not, and you know, that's me. Anyway, that mistake led me to having to figure out how to relax and how to have a little bit of fun with this process. Mistake number 2 is taking myself too seriously, like I said earlier, wanting praise when I didn't know what I was doing, pretending that, oh, I can take any criticism that you want to give me. And Charles leaned over and he said, no, you can't. So I knew right then I was in trouble. Mistake number 3, allowing all these factors to interfere with my painting and my enjoyment of the painting and my enjoyment of Italy. Oh my God, what a trip. It was fabulous. I'll be sharing more of that with you as we go along because there are more fun stories. I had the dis-ease of being in a foreign country and not knowing what I was doing. Randy was great. He'd just do his setup, do his little painting, hang his hat over the top of his easel and go off for a walk. And he might have a beer before he came back. And I'm sitting there because I want to get every damn penny out of that instruction. Even though in the afternoons Charles kind of snuck off with Randy. But I was painting on my own then. And that morning as we were sitting there, tour buses continued to drop people off down the road that goes down to the beach was just on the other side. I don't know why we couldn't get dropped off there, but we didn't. Opened those buses' doors, and there were at least 1 million Japanese people, and every one of them had a camera. And they also wore those little hats with the visor that flips down over it, kind of like a welding torch thing, because they can't have sun, I guess. Anyway, they crowded around us on that landing. It was probably a 10-foot landing, to the point that we couldn't even do what we were sitting there doing. They have no regard for respecting someone else's space. It was so bad that I had to kind of try to paint like this. And I remembered what Charles said the day before, and I giggled to myself, a little evil giggle, kind of like what Miss Vicki would do. So I dipped my brush into my water and got it good and wet. Soaking, dripping wet. And the technique that Charles showed us to get the exact right amount of paint in your water in your brush to paint with, sling it down about as hard as you can. Number one, it makes your brush turn to a point. And number two, it went 3 deep into that crowd of Japanese folks, and they moved on down the road to look at something else. So anyway, I have tried to learn to have fun, and I've got all kinds of ways that I did it and still do it, because I still like to have everything in control. If you enjoyed this story, there's going to be a lot more. So in order to get those, you need to download, and I'll put links and all that stuff, to the Axully Art Roadmap. It's a free download, and like I said before, it explains the outline of what I did in 15 years to get to where I am today, where I can paint in any medium that I want to pick up, and I'm fairly proficient in every one. That's me being, I don't like to brag. So anyway, if this sounds interesting, go over there and do that. And I also invite you to go to the Axully Art free Facebook group. There's a community developing over there with all sorts of creative people chatting and talking about what they're doing, what their feelings are, and why they feel like they can't do anything, or hey, I had a good day, this is what I got. So anyway, that is all the rambling I have today. I am so sorry about the scheduling. Apparently, if you schedule a Facebook video like this so that y'all can get reminders, it has to be done on a laptop. That involved a different piece of software. So at 3 o'clock, I'm downloading that software, trying to find out what I needed. And I did get it all fixed and ready, but I missed the part about how to make it start recording. So I was luckily set up with my phone and did it the way I've been doing it. So that's all I've got to say. Thanks everybody for coming, and I will be here again at 4:30 on Thursday this week. Bye.